The Interview That Wasn't by Sienna Vale. I came to heaven empty-handed, no hymn folded beneath my tongue, no polished list of little kindnesses, no shining proof that I belonged. I came with ash beneath my nails, with blood still naming where I'd been, with hope so tired it barely breathed, but breathing still beneath my skin. The gate stood high in blinding white, too clean for anything that bled. An angel asked me for my name. I almost gave it. Then another smiled and said, "What did you do with the life you were given?" I looked down at my borrowed hands, at every scar that learned to close, at every prayer I swallowed whole because no answer ever rose. I broke, I said. I grew. They wrote it down like grief was evidence. They led me through a silver room where nothing hurt and nothing stained, where every wall was scrubbed of screams and every window shone with blame. They asked me soft, precise, polite, as if cruelty wore a tie. What shaped your fall? What stained your skin? What let the darkness crawl inside? At first, I answered like a girl who still believed in being heard. My voice was small, my hands were still. My heart stood waiting on their word. I told them I had loved too hard. I told them I had lied. I told them I had kissed the dark and still kept something bright inside. I said I did not come as saint. I said I did not come as pure. I said if mercy still lived here, then maybe mercy could be sure that every sinner is a story, every wound a door. Every soul that crawled through fire is not less holy than before. The angels watched. The scribes leaned in. Their golden pens began to move. Then came the question, sharp and sweet. Did you forgive what wounded you? And something in the room went cold. Not loud, not sudden, not yet flame. Just one old silence lifting up inside the hollow of my name. I looked at them, at all that light, at every face that never came. And slowly, very slowly, I began to smile. You want forgiveness? The windows shook. You want me clean? The floor forgot its shine. You want the pretty little ending where I bless what broke my spine? Their halos dimmed, their feathers stirred, the silver walls bent back, and somewhere underneath my ribs, the unholy opened black. Where were your wings when I was torn? Where was your grace when I was small? Where was your God when hands reached out and no one answered when I called? The room went still. Not peaceful. Afraid. I stepped toward the desk. You call this judgment? A holy test? A weighing of my sin? You watched me drown in prayers gone dead, then asked why darkness entered in. A scribe dropped his pen. I laughed. It sounded almost like a bell if bells were forged in hell. You sat in silence while my body learned the language of survival. You blessed the mouths that called me ruined, then offered me revival. You turned away when shame was carved across my skin like law. You closed your eyes when I begged for light. And now you dare to call me flawed? The ceiling cracked. Beyond the gate, the choirs faltered in their song. The saints looked down at their clean hands and knew they had been clean too long. Then heaven stirred. Not with grace, not with forgiveness, but with fear, because it remembered what it buried. And I remembered too, because the silence in me had written it before their temples knew the weight of bone, the price of gold, the shape of every throne. Before angels wept, before devils fell, before God sat alone, the prophecy returned through me, not sung, not begged, not blessed. The day will come when silence wakes inside the broken chest. It shall no longer merely watch. It shall no longer hide. Through her, the silence shall become and bring the unholy inside. They asked my name again. Too late. My name was not the sound they knew. It was every woman told to hush, every child not believed, every girl who whispered no and was buried underneath the truth the world refused to receive. It was pillowcase screams, it was fists, it was needles, it was pills, it was apologies never meant, it was rooms that never healed. It was every stare that lingered wrong, every hand that took, every door that stayed unopened, every God that did not look. All of it poured into one vessel, one soul, one burned and breathing thing. And heaven, bright and spotless heaven, finally saw what silence brings. No trumpet called, no angel moved, no mercy crossed the floor. Even the stars turned their faces as I walked toward the door. And then I heard him, soft as smoke, a voice the throne despised. Lucifer, somewhere beyond the white, with sorrow in his eyes. At least, he whispered, hell admits the damage it has done. And heaven hated him for that, because he saw me. They had none. Not savior, not master, not lover, not saint. Only witness to the wound they dressed in holy paint. The angels rose, the devils came. Both throne and flame drew near. Heaven with its trembling law, hell with its sharpened sneer. They gathered close to weigh my soul, to brand me lost or claimed. And I stood there, between their kingdoms, tired of being named. You both betrayed me, I said softly. You both fed from what I bled. One sold pain and called it sin. One watched and turned its head. You call yourselves eternal. You call yourselves divine. But neither heaven nor hell itself has earned a peace of mine. Lucifer's smile began to shake. The angels backed away. The gods behind their golden masks had nothing left to say, for judgment was no longer theirs. The scales split clean in two. The room went black. The veil tore wide, and what was buried came through. The unholy rose, not corrupted, not fallen, not damned by desire, but awakened from every silenced scream and crowned in its own fire. She did not ask for heaven. She did not kneel for hell. She lifted one hand toward the gates and rang them like a bell. The walls convulsed, the choir broke, the scribes fled from the flame. Angels ran with ash on their wings, devils choked on my name. Gods hid behind their dying light, thrones cracked beneath their pride, and every holy lie they built split open from inside. I did not slaughter flesh. No, I did worse. I told the truth. I tore the masks from every mouth. I dragged the rot out by the root. I made the silence scream so loud that heaven lost its song. I made hell look away from me and know that it was wrong. Then I turned back to the trembling gates that once had asked me why I was stained, why I was dark, why something holy in me died. And I answered without bowing, without shame, without a plea. If heaven holds no room for this, then heaven is too weak for me. So keep your crowns, keep your hymns, keep mercy dressed in white. I am not here to be forgiven. I am here to end the lie. The interview is over. The verdict has been torn. The witness has become the fire. The unholy has been born. And as the skies burned open and the kingdoms learned to flee, I whispered to the stars, now you will learn what silence becomes when it finally speaks through me.